Hi, in today's video we're going to be talking about placing your personal weather station. This will probably be on your own property. It's a weather station you've picked out. I've got this free guide that we're going to look at here a little bit today. This guide get it for free by filling in your email address and sending to it'll pop up on the page in a little bit. What we're going to do is look at different types of property and a few things about how to place your weather station in the best spot to get the best results. Okay, so today we're going to look at a theoretical example, an example of using the Accurite Iris 5-in-1 weather station that we're going to have to search on your yard, your property, search for a place to place it, the best place to place it to get the most use out of each of your instruments. If you look at the Accurite Iris 5-in-1, what you're talking about is this large unit right here, and this is the sensor array that you're going to be using, and these will be the readings you'll be getting. You're going to have an anemometer here for wind speed, so that's going to be taken into account. You have a wind vane for determining wind direction, and here there's a solar panel, which you're going to need some solar power to provide the power to an aspiring fan inside the unit here to keep the sensor unit. In here you have a humidity sensor and a temperature sensor in the housing in here. In the back of this you have a rain gauge. So you're going to be thinking about the rain gauge as well. So that's the weather instruments you're going to be dealing with that we're going to be talking about today as we go through. I'm going to show you some conditions and some things to think about that you'll find in the free placement memo, free placement worksheet that you can use on your yard and your property to find the best situation for you and your personal weather station. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of this presentation, if you will, just want to remind you that this is George from George Loves Weather, and if you get any value from this video once you've watched it, please give us a thumbs up, like it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel while you're at it, and also tap the bell icon so you get notified every time I publish a new video. So let's move into the bulk of the presentation today. So when you're going to be placing your weather station, you're going to have different types of ground, water, trees, rocks, soil conditions, house where it is, tool sheds, all kinds of things you're going to be dealing with. So as you deal with that, what you're going to need to do is think about the whole picture of that you want to get the best reading from all 5 of your sensors that you have in the 5-in-1 sensor array. Now the first thing you're going to do is, this is an exaggeration, but you obviously don't want to have it around rocks because rocks and soil will generate some extra heat. Now there won't be any evaporation, but you can't have it near trees. So this is just a strange example that I wanted to show you to start out with. Just think about hard pan. What we call hard pan is something to stay away from. It will lead to some maybe false readings that aren't the best for you. So as you walk around your property, you may have something that looks like this, like a rocky area with a tree. But just off this, there might be some grass in an area that's open. Just think about, first you got to think about the evaporation that comes from a tree. You got to think about the shade, and you don't want it to be in the sun field, but you don't want it to be totally in shade either, because the weather gauge, the rain gauge, has to be out in the open a bit to collect rain. But you also don't want to have the tree interrupting anything as far as any of the readings. So that would be something you'd want to stay from. Now this is an example of an open field area. This is what I call hard pan. It's like shrubs and brush and hard soil, some rocks, small rocks, but really no grass cover. This is an area, and again, it's wide open, so you don't want it to be totally in a wide open area all the time, 24 hours a day. So this would be kind of area you'd probably want to avoid. As well. If you have this type of situation, which most people probably don't, you will be dealing with, this is more of an open area, but you're dealing with a river here, a creek, and this could be dealing with a lot of evaporation on hot days or Also, with the mountains and the clouds here, I suspect you'll be getting a lot of rainfall in this area if you own this home, have this tool shed and whatever, and barn. So the thing you might want to be thinking about is finding a space. It's a little bit out in the open, maybe a corner of a barn roof, something like that, corner of a tool shed, where you're going to get it out in the open a bit. And this is just an area to think about the water and the evaporation, and then with the mountains, the wind, because I think usually mountains create wind tunnels coming off them and strong conditions that you obviously want to have the right measurements from, but you also don't want it to be interrupting other readings you have coming from your weather sensor. Now, this is like the scenario we're going to be looking at in the presentation of mounting an Accurite Iris at my son's property, and you'll see in the videos there that we do have a pond on his property. Now it's smaller than this, but it's still enough that for evaporation like that, you don't want to put a weather station down by the pond itself or near the trees here. You'd want it more of an open situation. So just something to think about. Now, a creek running through your yard. This probably isn't going to affect much of anything, because probably sometimes in the year it'll be drier or dried up a little bit. But in the spring, when snow is melting, if you have snow, you might have runoff. There might be some things in here that might affect your weather station. So I would just say probably try to stay away from it. Things to think about with your weather station is that you want to think that the transmission is probably up to 330 feet away from your home. So you don't want to have trees or large rocks or anything like that are interrupting power lines, electrical sources, a power generator, anything like that. You probably want to stay away from them as far as being in direct contact between your display inside your home and the sensor array outside. Now, there's another thing. If you probably don't have this kind of thing, this is more like a park. But I just wanted to show you the kind of soil that could be. This is sparsely the grass. There's some of these bulb plants that come up. These look like jonquils or daffodils. Just hard pan area under a tree. You don't really want to have your weather station in that kind of situation either. Now, this is probably more like a real situation that you might have. You might have some rolling grass that maybe you don't mow that often. That probably won't affect anything too much as long as the grass doesn't get too tall. So that looks like an area where you maybe could put something that's out in the open a bit, that's away from the trees. Here's some rocks. But this grass, if you mow it, 5-6 times a year, would be all right to put something in a space like this. Now, tall grass, like a spare lot, a vacant lot, between homes, sometimes the grass gets kind of tall. That again could affect the reading on a weather station that's near it, due to the fact that there's a lot of evaporation. Especially when it rains, there's a lot of moisture coming off, and there's a bank, an area probably 5, 6, 10 feet above the ground where there's a lot of evaporation happening. And like you can look at a picture I've coming up where you can, like in the morning, make a lot of ground fog in this area as well. So the grass is, whether it's short grass, whether it's hard pan scrub, short grass, medium-sized grass, or tall grass. We've covered all them things to be looking for difference in evaporation in your yard. Now here's something that this yard looks more like something I've seen. But this is an area that this may look like a lot that you own, maybe an area close to your house you take better care of, maybe an area where there's trees and stuff you don't mow as often. You would want to find something that's like an open area like this that you could put the weather station in, because it's not going to be affected by any small buildings around where water is evaporating off roofs after the rain, or sun's reflecting off the sides of buildings. Again, you don't want to put it underneath any of these trees, but an area like here, an open area would be all right, where it's shaded at times? Is it like forest floor where there's tall grass with leaves that collect taller grass back here? That's probably not your situation, but is that a good situation to put weather station in? Well, that depends, I guess, on how open that is or how closed it is. We'll look at a picture here in a minute where it's closed. This is more closed, but then again, these are conifers. Grow straight up. Maybe that's something that you want to think about. Is I wouldn't put it in this kind of thing, a forest floor, where there's probably a lot of evaporation, a lot of sun, and a lot of wind that tunnels through here. So you're going to get some kind of inaccurate. Not that you would want to do that, just saying these are types of examples of flora and fauna and ground surface that you want to be aware of. Now, this would be more of a situation. This, again, looks like the edge of a very large property or a park. But again, grass like this, where it's just kind of spaced out, would be all right to put on. It wouldn't be too rocky, wouldn't be too grassy. Grass isn't too tall, and it's not near shade trees or buildings. So that would be an area you can look at as well. Now, this is probably a more realistic look for some people. You may have a yard that's arbored in with bushes that are trimmed and paths here and all this. So where would you want to put a weather station here? Well, probably not on the sun side, and probably where it's only going to get minimum exposure, maybe like the east side for exposure to sun in the morning, but the south and the southeast, southwest would be lesser coverage, and definitely the west side shining brightly against something you wouldn't want that exposed to long periods of sunshine either. But this is just something, again, you might want to look at as far as situation. Here's a nice situation, a backyard. Now, I probably wouldn't place a weather station anywhere in this area because of different types like conifers and shrubs and bushes. They're all going to cause evaporation and collecting of rain, where things are going to get damper than normal. And things, because it's heavily shaded here, you can see there's a lot of moss on these areas. So that means that it doesn't get a lot of open air and a lot of ventilation. So I would stay away from this because it was humidity reading. This, again, is more a situation. Again, wouldn't want to place it near this building or the front of the building or near this shaded areas here. Actually, this looks like a cemetery here, an edge of a cemetery. But maybe an area like here coming down towards bottom here, there may be an open area where you could place something. Now, this would be a good situation. Not exactly in this picture, but it looks like this opens up more towards the bottom of the picture. I wouldn't put it near the water or the trees or these plants because, again, plants breathe, they emit carbon dioxide, and so there's a lot of plants growing here, a lot of plants breathing, so I would probably stay away from that, but we'll go back towards more of an open area. Now, open area might be something like this, except this is Sunfield here. This is probably a little bit too much. So you might, I don't know which way the sun is facing, which way this is facing, but if you wanted to do a roof for this weather station in this area here, there's no trees or foliage, you could probably do that. Just remind you, though, if you're going to go off a rooftop, you're going to want to go 10, 15 foot above the roof because the roof will gather heat from the sunlight. Same with this area. Depends on how much sun. You would know how much sun these areas get. An open area here, maybe, I don't know, an area a little bit where it's not quite shaded. Maybe this is only shaded an hour a day. That might work because it looks like trees are off to the left here. So that might be something to look at. Now, this is the properties I've been around in my life. This would be, it's like a driveway here, and there's an old tool shed down here, some trees, and you've got some rough areas here, but you have some areas that you mow and keep trimmed up. So maybe put something, maybe something in here in the corner. Again, depending on the sunlight that it gets. And as well as being open so it can collect rain properly too. And also think about the wind and where the wind direction's coming from, how much sun you're getting, and the ground cover for evaporation. I don't see any body water here. Keep in mind that roads and stone roads do gather more heat. They are lighter, so they reflect more heat. So they're not absorbing the heat, but they're reflecting off. So the heat, if you were to actually look at the therms coming off from the ground, there are therms probably 5 to 7, 8 foot off the road coming up, and something that would be close in this area, close by to those therms, would be affected for the temperature, give you a false reading for the real temperature in your area. So that's just something to think about. So thank you for watching the video today. We appreciate it. I hope you got some good tips on what to look for in your weather station and placing your weather station and get the best results for your weather station that you've picked out. Don't forget, you can go to my site, georgelovesweather.com. You can get a free report now. It's a worksheet hack that you can get that will help you and guide you in thinking about your property, looking at things in your property. Plus, we've got the other thing there'll be a page in here, a brand new post about mounting the Accurite 5-in-1 weather station. As soon as I get the video recorded, it'll be there probably a week from now. That'll be there for you to look at as well. So if you did get some value, please give us a thumbs up, like the video today. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button. Thank you today for watching today's video. This is George from George Loves Weather saying thank you. God bless. Talk to you later.